Hi there. Today we're going to learn how to make my Plenteous Mesh Sweater. Plenteous means like huge. I just use a thesaurus. We're using wool and the gang yarn here. This is a bulky 6 yarn, but if you don't have access to this yarn, you don't want to buy it, you can just use two strands of yarn held together, or find your own kind of bulky yarn. This yarn is 80% cotton, 20% polyester. And for this sweater and this size that I'm making, I'm using about 3 skeins. You may need more if you are larger than, or if you're making a sweater larger than a bust size over 34 inches. I'm using a 15mm hook. So for the mesh stitch, you're going to want to create a chain that's a multiple of 4 plus 3. Please go ahead and pause the video so that you can read some notes I've added here. If you're familiar with the mesh stitch, then you can definitely skip ahead of this part. You only need to know that you have to crochet an initial chain that's half of the circumference of your bust size. So just take a measuring tape and measure around where the widest part of your bust is, and then crochet half of that, because we are crocheting the sweater in 2 halves. So I'm making this sweater for someone who is between 34 inches and 36 inches, and I'm chaining 40 plus 3. Be sure to get a measuring tape and measure your chain so that you know how long it is. Measuring tape is my best friend. This yarn is very, very stretchy though, so this is going to be, most sizes will fit anyone. So for more advanced crocheters, I've left the diamond mesh stitch, the basic instructions here, and I'm going to show you also in the video. So first we start by skipping the first chain space, and we're doing just a single crochet in the next chain space there. Then you're going to chain 5, and you're going to skip your next 3 chain spaces, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to do a single crochet in that 4th one. So after our single crochet into that 4th space, after skipping the 3, we're going to go ahead and chain 5. Then we're going to skip 3 chain spaces. So count your 3 chain spaces, and then once again single crochet into that next chain space after you skip 3. And this is basically what we're going to do for this entire row. So go ahead and chain 5, and then skip the next 3 chain spaces. 1, 2, 3, and then we put a single crochet to that 4th one. So just go ahead and continue this pattern all the way until you get to the end. Right before the last before the last stitch, go ahead and pause the video, and I'll tell you how to end this row. So once you reach the end of the row, you're gonna do your last chain 5, right? But you're still gonna skip that 3 right there, and you're gonna single crochet. And a single crochet into that last stitch, and then add another single crochet. At least that's what I did. If it's a little slightly different for you, it really won't make a difference. And that's our first row. So then onto our second row, we're going to go ahead and chain 5 right at the end. Be sure to turn your work around so you're going the other direction. And then all you're going to do is go ahead and make a single crochet into that first chain space. And And then you're just going to continue your pattern of chaining 5. And then do another single crochet into the next chain space. You're doing this all the way to the end. It's very simple. You go ahead and chain 5. And then single crochet into the next chain space. And just continue this until you reach the end. Then in our last chain space from row 1, we're just going to add a single crochet. But this is not the end yet. We're going to do one more. So what we're going to do is chain 5. And then we're going to make a single crochet to the very end of the row where our last single crochet was from row 1. So you can kind of see it there. It's at the end. So I'm going to make one single crochet, and that ends our row 2. So now we're going to move on to the 3rd row, and this is the last row that we're just going to repeat until we reach the length we want. So go ahead and chain 5. Be sure to turn your work around. And then we're just going to single crochet into every chain space. And after that, we're just going to chain 5. Single crochet into the chain space. And you're just going to do this for every row. And at the end of every row, it's not going to be confusing. It'll be very clear that the row is over, and you're just going to turn and continue the pattern. Go single crochet. And that is basically it. I think I crochet the body to be about between 9 to 12 or 13 inches long. Depends on how long you want this. Mine's is a crop top, so it's not supposed to cover the whole body, but you can definitely make this as long as you like. I'm pretty sure I did 13 rows of this. So you already have 3, so just 10 more rows basically. So real quick, I just want to show you guys what the end of your row 3 will look like and every row after row 3. So after you do your last chain 5, you're just going to single crochet into the last chain space, and there's nowhere else for you to go in this. So you've got that all nice and done, and then just going to go ahead and chain 5 and do everything you've been doing. Okay, so once you have your desired length, like I said, I have about 13 rows here. You can pause and count. Remember, you're going to need to make 2 of these. I think I made a mistake about crocheting in the round for the body. In the beginning I said that earlier, you're actually just going to be slip stitching the sides together. But I will show you how to crochet this stitch in the round for the sleeves, because it's what we're going to do. So yeah, just make 2 of the exact same side panel pieces, front and back. They're identical. Then you're going to want to go and find the front. The front's going to be smooth at the top. That's going to be the initial chain we did. The back will be kind of bumpy. So that's the front and the top. So you're at the bottom. And we're going to put these 2 together. As you can see, just look again. This is the front top of the sweater. It's the first chain we did. The back looks kind of bumpy and ridgy. That's the opposite side. So you want to Put the pieces with the front sides facing each other because you want the seams to be on the inside of the sweater. See, I still have my yarn attached to my last panel I didn't tie off. I'm just going to chain one, and then I'm going to stick it as identically as I can, as try to line these up as best as possible into the same chain spaces. I'm just going to chain them together with single crochets and connect them with single crochets. So put your hook through both, and then just make single crochet and go just up the piece. I go through every little chain space there is, and that kind of helps to keep it even, just matching up stitch for stitch. There will be a mixture of tiny chain spaces for you to do this through and large chain spaces. Just single crochet in each one, but not all the way up to the top. Maybe about 4 or 6 single crochets up, depending on how wide you want your sleeves to be. So this leaves like a pretty wide sleeve. You can go more narrow if you like, but that's what I'll do for each side. Just go up 6. At the tops and the corners up there, I'm just going to do like 1 single crochet to hold them together, and I'll show you that in a moment. But first, we'll tie off our first seam here. Before we do the top corner seams, we're just going to do the opposite side. So just go ahead and slip stitch your yarn onto your hook and do the exact same thing we did on the other side. So then go ahead and slip stitch and cut off the yarn on the other side, and then you've got your 2 bottom halves seamed together. So now we're going to work at the top. Remember, we're working with the 2 panels facing each other, so we're working this like the back. Once we turn it inside out, it'll look better. Basically, you're gonna seam the tops. This is like the shoulder area. You're gonna do the same kind of single crochet and chains through the top loops. It's gonna be more like a preference thing. The technique is the same, but how wide or how narrow you want your neck hole to be will determine where exactly you pitch your hook. Just make sure that each side is even. See, I'm doing mine. I'm gonna have a pretty wide neckline here, so I'm about 2 large gaps. You wanna try to space it out. So I'm basically doing, I think, 4 single crochets. That should give you a better idea at how wide my little shoulder part will be here. So I'm just going through the tops of the loops in between the big chain spaces, and then the where we did our single crochets on our first like couple rows. Once we're at the very end, you're just gonna do chain 1, and we're just gonna do a slight connecting of the sides here. So go underneath where you did your last single crochet on the side of the panel and not the top, on the side of each panel, just like we did the bottom on the sides, and just do another single crochet. I don't want my sleeves to be extremely wide, so I'm just doing some more single crochets seaming at the top. You can count the holes in between the seams to make sure that your sleeves on each side are going to be even. I just do 1 single crochet on the side. It's more like an OCD thing, I guess. It gives me some kind of peace of mind, but you can do however you think your sleeve like will look good. If you do no single crochet down the side, it's not going to make a huge difference to the design. For some reason it does in my brain. So go ahead now and do the other side the exact same way. And then once you're done with all your seaming, just flip the top inside out. So then we can begin working on the sleeves. We are almost done. I mean, you can just see this. I tried to take some pics coming up in a few moments. I just wanted you to see how cute this looks on as a crop. And see, I'm about 30, 32, and it fits me just fine, but this will stretch and not be too tight for a 34, 36. Also, I just want you to see here, this is what I have left after one skein. So I was able to make the front and back panels and seam them, and I still have like a tiny bit from the first skein. So now I'm going to start the sleeves with a fresh, whole new skein. So now we're going to go to the top of our neckline here, and we're going to start our sleeves. We're going to go to the bottom of the seam on the side, that chain one, and then the one single crochet I did. You can see the seam at the bottom here. We're just going to go all in the round doing the diamond mesh stitch. So if you were able to do it for the body, this will be a piece of cake. It'll be very mindless. Find the seams on the side that you did. Whether you chose to do one on the side or the top, it doesn't matter. You'll still see like a little single crochet little thing, and then slip stitch on your yarn. And then you're just going to go ahead and make sure it's nice and tight and chain 5, just like with the same thing, same mesh stitch we've done. Now for this, in the first round you're going to do, it's going to be a little funky, but you're basically going to be doing your single crochets into the large spaces. So this, yeah, so you have like a tiny space, and then you have the large space, and that's where we're going to do our single crochets into these. Oops. So single crochet, and then chain 5 again. And then go skip that small space. It looks like a single crochet, it's not, but go ahead and single crochet into the large space. So we're going to do this all the way around, and I will show you what to do when you get to your other seam at the bottom of the top, but it's still basically the same thing. I just want to kind of make it clear for you guys. Just basically remember to single crochet in large spaces and chain 5 after each one. So now we've got, chain 5 on the hook, and we're at the seam at the bottom. We're going to just single crochet in one of the big gaps next to it. Go ahead and chain 5. There's nothing special happening here. I just want to make sure that this is not confusing. So you're just going to go over the seam. It looks like a single crochet, and we would normally skip over those anyways, and only single crochet in the big spaces. So that's basically it. So just continue this all the way up into the other side, and I will meet you at the top so I can give you further instructions. So now we're at the top, and we've just entered our last single crochet in one of those big spaces, and you can see we're at the beginning of where our first chain 5 was. So we're not going to be slip stitching it or like doing anything like that with the rows. Our rows are continuous. They're I forgot what the term is, but we're not. They're basically not slip stitching the rows. So just chain 5 and single crochet into that first chain 5 space, and you're gonna do this every time you come back around. There's no real marker. You can put a stitch marker in if it'll help you keep track of how many rows. I just count my single crochet little spaces at the end to see how many rows I've done. But you basically are just going to go around and around until you have the length that you want. The sleeves won't look uneven or anything like that, so long as both of them are the same amount of rows. But I mean, as far as like wonkiness, you're not going to be able to tell just with this design. So basically, just to clarify, you're just doing the mesh stitch that we did for the body, which is chain 5 and then single crochet into the chain 5 spaces that you had previously done. I'm just speeding up this part now because it's just very repetitive. Just keep in mind that when you come back around to the beginning of your row, you're not doing anything special, you're just continuing the pattern. You're always going to have a chain 5 space to single crochet into until you tie off your yarn. And I will show you how to do that. It's up ahead. So here I have completed my sleeve. I've just done the mesh stitch in the round. So you can see the body here and then this big sleeve attached. I've done 31 rows for my sleeves, and you can definitely make yours longer or shorter. Right now, if you have a stitch marker, you'll be able to see exactly where the beginning of your initial row was, so that when you're slip stitching and tying this off, it's perfectly even. But like I said, it really doesn't matter. I could tie this off anywhere and it wouldn't be noticeable just from the way that the sleeves hang. But basically all I'm going to do is, so I just want to show you here, I'm just single crocheting into the chain space, and that's it. I'm gonna tie off my yarn now, and I'll take a smaller hook and just kind of tuck this little string in to the stitches so that it doesn't show. Here's how much yarn I have left after that second skein. So one sleeve basically takes up most of the skein, so I'm just going to open up a new package. You're going to go ahead now and do the other sleeve exactly the same way. So I'm not going to show this sleeve. You can just go back and rewatch the first the first segment of the sleeve I did, because it's literally the exact same thing. And that's it. That's how you make my Plenteous Mesh Sweater. I hope this tutorial was very helpful for you, and I would love to see your finished work. So you can contact me on my Instagram at @ontheblackhand_side if you'd like to share. And stay tuned for the next tutorial. I try to have new ones every week.